Everyone thought she was screaming in fear. They thought the sound was pure terror. But if you listened closely, it wasn't fear at all. It was defiance. It was the sound of a decorated soldier, a soldier remembering who she really was. The helicopter rotors thundered loudly above the deep, unforgiving canyon. 3 police officers gripped her arms tightly. Their faces were pale. They were sweating with confusion and with pure anger. Captain Riley Hale was once a celebrated combat pilot. Now she stood there accused of treason. A treason she never committed. Her wrists were cold. The steel cuffs dug deeply into her skin. She stared down hard. The ground was spinning thousands of feet below them. The officers screamed over the roar of the wind. They called her a traitor. They called her a liar. They called her a cold-blooded murderer. None of them knew the real truth. Riley had just uncovered a massive, violent smuggling ring. The entire operation was running secretly inside their own department. Her quick arrest was not true justice. It was a cold attempt to silence her forever. She had less than 1 minute left to live. The oldest officer was shaking violently. He looked away quickly when her eyes met his. Maybe he saw something there. He saw the unsettling calm of a true soldier, someone who had already accepted her fate. But Riley was not planning to die there. Not today. The helicopter tilted sharply. It leaned over the canyon edge. One officer shoved her hard toward the open hatch. The desert below stretched out endlessly. It looked golden and impossibly cruel. The wind whipped her dark hair into her face. Her heart was slamming against her ribs. "Any last words?" one officer yelled loudly. She looked at him and smiled. She smiled a sharp, predatory smile. "Yeah," she yelled back over the wind. "You might want to hold on tight." Then she jumped first. She jumped willingly into the deadly open air. For a heartbeat, time broke apart completely. The 3 police officers gasped in unison. One shouted for the pilot to circle back immediately. The other officer cursed violently. He thought she was gone forever. But as she fell, Riley twisted her steel-cuffed wrists. The cuffs were cheap, foreign-made metal. They snapped sharply against a small, hidden pin. The pin was built into the seam of her sleeve. She had done this exact dangerous maneuver once before. She did it over enemy lines in a foreign country. Back then, she had a parachute to finish the job. Today, she had something much more powerful. She had a plan. Her body knifed quickly through the rushing air. She angled her fall toward a dark, distinct ridge below. The ridge hid a secret convoy, a convoy of armored military trucks. They were her trucks. She had called them in hours ago. She knew exactly what was coming for her. The wind screamed painfully in her ears. Her vision blurred quickly. She fought to make out the landing zone. 1,000 feet below, 600 feet, 200. Then it happened. The net fired. A spring-loaded rescue net shot upward violently from the secret convoy. It caught her in a sharp shock. A sudden blast of hot sand and desert heat. The moment she hit the net, she rolled expertly. She gasped for air. But she was laughing. She was alive. She was free. The men on the ground ran toward her immediately. They were all soldiers. They were from her old unit. Their faces were streaked with dust and with worry. "Captain Hale, ma'am," one shouted loudly. He gripped her arm to steady her. "We've got the signal. They are transmitting everything right now." High above the canyon, the police helicopter banked hard to return. The officers inside saw the military convoy below. They saw the rescue net. They saw the formation of armored trucks. They instantly realized their deadly mistake. The woman they had just thrown out was no longer a prisoner. She was their precise reckoning. Within minutes, the police radio crackled violently. The entire smuggling operation was exposed. The whole scheme was being ripped apart. Riley's unit was transmitting everything, all the evidence, all the names, all the precise locations. The data was streaming live to command. For the first time in many months, Riley didn't feel hunted anymore. She felt completely whole. When the police helicopter tried to flee the scene, it was already too late. A pair of powerful military choppers appeared suddenly on the horizon. Their large insignias were bright and clean against the desert sun. The corrupt police officers inside dropped their weapons instantly. They were trembling with fear now. Soldiers surrounded them on the dusty landing strip. Riley walked over slowly. Her wrists were still raw and red from the tight steel cuffs. "You tried to throw me out," she said softly to one officer. He couldn't look at her. "But sometimes," she continued, her voice strong, "falling is just another way to fly." He didn't answer her. He couldn't find a single word to say. Hours later, the sun was setting deeply. It bled a violent orange color into the quiet desert sky. Riley sat beside her convoy. She sipped cold water slowly from a tin cup. The world was quiet again. It was the deep, restorative quiet that always follows the truth. She had faced death. She had been betrayed. She was arrested and handcuffed. She was thrown from a high altitude. She escaped the cuffs. She survived the fall. She executed her perfectly planned counterattack. She understood a profound truth now. Courage doesn't need permission from anyone. It just needs one moment to breathe deeply. And sometimes the fall that was meant to break you completely is actually the one that sets your soul free. The officers thought she needed a parachute. They thought the fall would end her life. They believed they had silenced a witness. They believed the gravity of the earth would do their cruel job for them. They learned the hard way that day. They learned that a decorated, highly trained officer doesn't rely on simple equipment. They don't need a simple parachute. They rely on preparation. They rely on intelligence. They rely on loyalty. They rely on a contingency plan that starts with a hidden pin. They rely on a rescue net positioned miles away. They rely on a unit that is loyal to the mission. They rely on the sheer will to survive. Riley Hale knew all of this. Her hands were still raw from the cuffs, but her mind was clear. The treason charge was gone forever. The corrupt cops were now fully exposed. The smuggling ring was shut down completely. Justice had flown down to meet her in the air. She picked up the tin cup. The metal felt cool and solid in her hands. The men of her unit watched her with deep respect. They knew what it took to survive that kind of betrayal. They knew the immense planning involved. They knew the sheer nerve it took to jump first. She stands now as a symbol against corruption, a symbol of resilience. The officers thought they were powerful. They thought the helicopter gave them the final word. But Riley had the last word. She had the last laugh. She had the only plan that truly mattered. She chose her own destiny. She chose her own landing spot. She chose her own justice. She is a reminder to all of us. No matter how deep the fall is, no matter how tightly you are bound, no matter who betrays you, you always have a choice. You always have a plan. You always have the ability to fight back. You always have your core training. You always have the defiance of a true soldier. That defiance is stronger than any rope. It is stronger than any cuff. It is stronger than any gravity. She finished the cool water. The silence returned. It was her silence now. Hit the like button if you felt her unbreakable courage today. Don't forget to subscribe for more untold stories of justice and pure defiance.